Welcome back, everybody, to Ice Dogs This Week. With us now is one of the Ice Dogs' newest additions, defenseman Matt Brassard. Matt, first things first, just thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So you're new, so you don't necessarily know this, but on our show we do this thing, it's called the Big Dog of the Week, and we ran out of time, so we didn't do it, but we're going to do it now. And what that is we just simply say, we pick someone that we think was really good last week, and they're our Big Dog of the Week. So I'm going to go, then Matt, and you. We're going to put you on the spot.
Wow.
Feet to the fire. Who you thought the best Ice Dog was last week. For me, Akil Thomas gets the hat trick in that one game and kind of started driving the play a bit again. So for me, Akil Thomas is my big dog. Matt?
Ben Jones, 6 points in the first two games.
Yeah, he killed it in those first two games. You're allowed to double dip if it makes it easier.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. They're both, obviously they both had great weekends, but I think Akil, he had that hat trick game, which is nice. He gave me 2 assists, so I'm always thankful for
So
that.
you're biased then.
A little bias there.
But yeah, he's playing against him. You don't really, you know he's good, but you don't realize how good he is until you play with him. And there's a lot of good players like that on this team.
So you're in Niagara now. That trade happens. You've been traded before or moved teams before within the OHL. This is now your third team. Just tell me kind of about that experience and how that worked from your end of things.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of trade rumors going around over the Christmas break and into the trade deadline. But we were, me and Jack were kind of just focused on our own things. Obviously, Jack was gone at World Juniors, so that was a big thing to focus on with him. And for me, just being back in Oshawa, if it was my last couple games with them, just making sure I did everything I could to help them win. And but it was a nice little surprise, kind of knowing that Niagara was a team that was kind of contending in the East, and they were a team that wanted me. And I'm going to give nothing but hard work and 100% to this team, knowing that they thought that highly of me.
Now I'm going to do something I never have done before in terms of asking a question.
Great.
Before the show, we were talking, and you happened to say that it's nice being on the other side because you lost to Niagara when you're in Barrie, lost to them in Oshawa last year, and that you mentioned the Meridian Center's a particularly tough building to play in. So what makes a building tough to play in, I guess, is the best way I can describe it, because I'm not quite sure what the difference is.
Yeah, it's obviously, first things first, it's loud. There's a lot of people. They get a lot of fans. They're great here. I think playoffs wise, hearing that goal horn go off, the one song there, I don't really know the name of it, but I know what it is. And then
if you hear it, you know.
Yeah, and then the
band.
Yeah, the band's huge too. The when the opposing team scores, you get the "Who cares?" and I'll never forget my first year when I was 17. I didn't play in the last game of the conference finals that we were eliminated in, but I was walking on the ice and there was fans throwing brooms on the ice. So obviously home ice is huge in every team in the OHL, but I think here for sure it's definitely, for my 4 years in the OHL, it's one of the harder rinks to play in as an opposing team.
So you've talked about now, Akil Thomas being a great player. You talked about, the building and liking it. So now you're here in Niagara. But what did it mean being able to be traded with a guy like Jack Studnicka so that you've got that little bit of familiarity when you come to your new team? You're not on a solo mission, so to speak.
Yeah, it's. I know a lot of guys. They don't get traded in packages. A lot of guys kind of go their separate ways if teams are selling at the deadline. But I was fortunate enough to come here with Jack, who's a really good friend of mine from Oshawa, and I've been with him for years. The fans will realize soon that he's a special player. He was on Team Canada for a reason. He's really highly touted, a second-round NHL pick, and I think once me and him get our feet under us here, we're really going to help this team.
One of the things that, I've noticed early on throughout even going back to last year, but really throughout your first couple of games in Niagara, you have this ability to get pucks on net. Even Jack talked about it last week on the show, where you can find a way to get a puck towards the net when maybe other guys can't.
No shin pads.
Yeah, no shin pads. So what is it that, is it something you work on often? What is it that you don't see, I guess, blocking the net where others may?
Yeah, I know it's kind of always been something that's part of my game. I'm not really the type of guy that is going to rush the puck up the ice, create offense that way. I'm more a guy that's going to create offense in the offensive zone by getting pucks through and on net. And I know my first year I played with Rasmus Anderson. He was probably one of the best in the league at walking the line and getting shots through, and just watching him do it and kind of learning from him in practice. It's a big thing to know how to do, and I've worked at it a lot, and I know I've kind of been one of the highest shot generators in the OHL for defensemen over the last few years, not just this year. So it's something I really take pride in, and I think it's one of the best ways that guys in the NHL do it these days too. That it's something that they succeed with, is getting pucks through from the point instead of trying to score yourself by taking the puck end to end. That game's kind of over now.
And it's almost like you value getting it through so much. You're not taking big slap shots. A lot of the time, it's not to like undermine it, but it's floaters. You're just trying to pick a spot. You're getting goals when a goalie just can't see anything, or you're getting assists because the puck's getting tipped, because you're just making sure it gets through, and you almost care more about that than the speed of the shot. It's all about the accuracy and making sure it gets there.
Yeah, like it's tough. Kind of accuracies doesn't usually come with slap shots, so yeah. I know getting those quick little wristers through a couple feet off the ice is perfect. That's how the forwards like them, and that's how you're taught. So yeah, it's funny you say that, because I rarely you'll see me take a slap shot. I know thinking back to this year, or against Niagara earlier this year in Oshawa was my first ever slap shot goal. So it's kind of funny it came against Niagara too. So yeah, it's not something I do very often, but yeah, the quick wristers from the point are something I do a lot more.
Just one last one here. Everybody considers you an offensive defenseman. I think you consider yourself that as well, but you've also been a plus player in the league every year you've played in the league. So you can't get plus minus playing on the power play. So how much pride do you take in your defensive game? Yeah,
that's something I definitely take pride in. I don't want to just kind of be labeled as an offensive defenseman. Obviously, it's a good title. Nowadays, it's pretty valuable, especially as a right-handed shot. But coming from Barrie to Oshawa, that was the one thing my head coach at the time, Bob Jones, really stressed, was that defense is a lot more important nowadays. And I've really worked hard at it. I know when I was drafted by Vancouver, that was something they stressed too, that they know the offense is there. And it's just a matter of working on my defense. I think that's going to get me to that next level and hopefully help me sign a contract. So it's definitely something I'm going to continue to work on. And plus minus is not always a telling stat, but it's nice to be a guy that's been a plus player in the league his whole career.
I remember one of the Ice Dogs' old coaches, Dave, what can I think
Dave
his name
Bell?
Is? Bell, wow. Used to always said they call it defenseman for a reason, right? So that's all part of it. Matt, thanks a lot for being on the show. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it's time to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the games coming up this week.